It's the beard. I've lost it. I've shaved the beard off and I've lost it. The source of all my powers. Hello everybody and welcome back to Q&A Wednesday. I'm Leigh and today we're going to be answering all of your questions regarding campervan conversions. As ever, we have asked our Patreon supporters first for their questions, and also if you follow us on Instagram, you will find that we put a little question out on our Instagram story. If you're a Patreon supporter, you are guaranteed an answer, and if we go through enough of those in the time that we've got, then I will answer your Instagram questions after. Without hanging around then, we shall get on with the first question from Guy Newman, who is a Patreon supporter. He says, "Hi guys, awesome work by the way, but a quick question about panels on a T6. I ordered ply panels from Custom Shop Design. They've been great so far, thanks for that," he says. "But the clip holes on the C-pillar don't align with anything on the bodywork. Is there a logical solution to clipping this back other than Sikaflexing a piece of timber and then screwing it in?" I know exactly what you're talking about, Guy, and we have overcome that problem with a couple of solutions. So as a bit of background then, Custom Shop Designs are a company we would recommend to get all of your 3.6 or 6mm ply paneling, and they also do a range of other products. We can leave a link down below. We're not affiliated with them in any way, we just recommend their stuff, so it's because it's good. When it comes to a T5 or T6, the C-pillar, which is the pillar behind the middle window or behind the sliding door, on the long side panel behind the window, the panel fits in the framework, but on a panel van, there is nothing to clip the panel to two pre-cut holes on that ply panel. Sorry, you see me, I'm trying to envisage it in my mind and using my hands. So those panels are pre-cut to fit into a combi van, I believe, and they accommodate factory panels. With the custom work panels, they already have a hole cut in, and one of the solutions of clipping those into that C-pillar is exactly your suggestion, Guy. You can either mount or bond a piece of shaped timber to that C-pillar and then attach those panels in via some screws. Or you can bond in maybe a piece of metalwork that mimics the two brackets that VW would use, or you can just use a couple of right angle brackets maybe riveted into that C panel that line up with the existing holes, and then you can use some factory style panel clips to attach those panels into place. I know that was a bit moving my hands around, and but if you're Guy Newman and you've just asked the question, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I hope that's helped, Guy. Next question then is from Dominic Pascal. He says, "RE carpeting, with reference carpeting, would you spend time cleaning off old dried spray adhesive or just spray it over the top?" Dominic, that completely depends on the area, I guess. Carpeting, and I've said this in our videos before, carpeting does a very good job of hiding a multitude of sins. And quite frankly, if the existing glue is stuck fast onto that metalwork, you can get away with just spraying it over. Especially if it's on the side of the van that's say, if it's the side of the van that's say behind the interior units and you're never really going to see it. Obviously you're after the best finish as possible. We've taken that glue off before. We have sanded it off. We've used a solvent-based solution, you know, like a brake clean or a white spirit, to take that glue off before. Again, depends entirely on where you are attaching your carpet to and how much you want that finish to be ever so sweet. So yes and no. Yes, I would take the time to clean off the old spray adhesive if it's on an area that matters. However, we would just spray over the top of it, depending on the situation. So thank you, Dominic, for your question. The next question is from Matt. He says, "Hi Leigh, are there any differences between the Vamoose combo rail and the Rymo multi-rail when buying for a T5.1? What would you recommend? Thanks, Matt." Now, I have fitted both, and there isn't a huge amount of difference between the Vamoose combo rail and the Rymo multi-rail. For those who don't know, that is a rail that's designed to attach on the roof line of your vehicle for you to slide in a awning rail, and they're very, very handy, especially if you've got a canopy type awning that you just want to clip on and have perched on the side, or if you've got a drive-away awning and you want to slide that awning rail onto as well. We've actually done a video on it, and we'll leave the link down below or up here in the on the card just up there. I would say that one of the main price differences is the price. The Vamoose combo rail is slightly cheaper than the Rimo. However, the Rimo one has been around for a lot longer, and I believe is the original design, and I believe it's one that VW fit as standard. So they both do the same job. They're both very similar in design. The Vamoose is slightly cheaper, and the Rimo, I believe, is the original. So it's completely up to you, Matt. I will leave that decision to you. Thank you very much for your question. Next then is one of our long-time Patreons, Ellie Thickett. She says, "Hi Leigh and everybody else. We are just starting to think more about exterior styling." By the way, Ellie has either a late T5.1 or an early T6. I can't quite remember. Ellie says, "I know nothing when it comes to alloy wheels apart from what looks good to me. Any recommendations for makers in mid-range prices? Also, tyres, all-terrain or normal, what's your thoughts?" So when it comes to alloy wheels, well, the wheels make or break a vehicle. If you are after exterior styling, the wheels do absolutely make or break a vehicle. So to me, a wheel selection is pretty important. But obviously, if you are considering a bit of a budget, a mid-range price, actually, do you know what? There's a lot of van conversion companies out there who buy brand new T6s and then ditch the standard wheels straight away. And we'll put on aftermarket wheels, 19, 20-inch alloy wheels, or even off-road style wheels. So a very good alloy wheel for mid-range prices, especially if you're not going too heavy on the exterior styling, is actually some of the new 5-spoke T6 alloys. They're actually a really attractive wheel. They will fit directly onto your T5, T6. They really give your van, say if it's a few years old, they really give it a nice modern feel. The tyres normally have just delivery mileage on the tyres as well, and they can be found online for quite cheap as well, because there's a lot of converters out there taking the wheel straight off and putting them on the open market. So a really good mid-range price wheel is actually the standard VW alloy on a brand new van. Again, quite easy to find. Failing that, you have the likes of Wolf Race and a multitude of other wheel suppliers. For a starting point, have a look at some of these companies such as Travelling Light or VanX or Transporter HQ, who supply lots of exterior and interior styling parts for vans, and they will normally have an area that will cater for wheels. Also with tyres, all-terrain or normal, totally depends on the style of driving you're doing. For most of my vehicles, I will go for a road tyre, and mainly because I do 99.9% of my driving on road. If you want a beefier look or the swamper look, absolutely go and get the all-terrains. I can recommend the BFG KO2 all-terrain tyres. They are excellent. They are not too noisy compared to a normal road tyre. They look the part, and they're kind of the standard if you want to go for the swamper look, and they'll fit a normal T5 steel as well if you get the right size. I would say for 99% of people, they are more for styling rather than driving comfort. So if you do even 5-10% of your driving off-road, getting a set of all-terrains is a pretty good idea. But most of my vehicles have set road tyres on, because I do, like I said, nearly 100% of my driving on road. I hope that helps, Ellie. If you need any further assistance, be sure to give us an email. And that goes to everybody on Patreon. As you know, we answer all of our Patreon questions within the day, no matter what. The last Patreon question then is from Sam Bryan, and Sam says, would you put a rust inhibitor in any holes drilled in interior metalwork? If so, what would you use? I've put my curtain rails up over the weekend and concerned about corrosion. Am I worrying about nothing? You're not worrying about nothing, Sam, but I I wouldn't use a rust inhibitor. I'd maybe use a colour match paint in maybe a tiny pot, and I would just dab the inside of the holes you've drilled with a little bit of touch-up paint, a colour match touch-up paint. Normally you would put a rust inhibitor on an area of metal that you had that was previously rusty. You then use like an abrasive wheel to clean that rust off, and the rust inhibitor will chemically neutralize the rust or the oxidization in that steel panel. So if there's not rust in there already, the rust inhibitor won't do much of won't have much of an impact on it. So if they're brand new holes in nice clean metal, I would suggest a dab of paint, colour match paint, if you're that worried, within that hole. I hope that helps. Thank you. And that's all the questions there from Patreon. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can be, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, you can be from just £1 a month, and there is a bunch of benefits. So once again, I shall leave a little card just up here, and you can go and check out our Patreon page. So we have 2 questions from Instagram, and I'm smiling because I know both the people who have asked them. The first is at Armchair Sessions, and that is our friend Andy Gregory. He's a friend of ours, and he also works for Heritage Parts Centre, and he says, campsite or wild camping, which do you prefer? I'm going to flat out say that I prefer wild camping. The ability to just rock up to a site, go and explore, and then stay over in that location without having to depend on a hookup or ablutions or anything like that. I love being out in the wild. As a young lad, I was in the sort of Cubs and Scouts, then I joined the army, so being outdoors and camping wild is kind of ingrained into me. So when it comes to camping in a van as well, I prefer that sort of stuff too. However, my family prefer to stay overnight in campsites, and I'm very happy to do that also. So Andy, thanks for your question. I hope that answers it for you. And the other one is from our very own Dan, who will be joining me in just a couple of minutes for our podcast, because we're going to film the podcast directly after this. He says, what are your plans for 2021? I've got lots of plans. Personally, we're moving house, and we've got all that to think about. And for the business, we have lots of things planned. And Dan, you are going to be involved in those too, make no bones about it. So, yes, we're going to be very, very busy people. And to everybody watching, please join us along for the ride. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. It's down there, the little red button. And also, if you like the information that I've given you in the video, please consider giving it a like as well. Once again, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time on our Q&A Wednesday. Bye-bye.